Hey everyone, welcome to the last episode of the PLG123 for the year. Despite the many challenges of 2020, I've certainly had a great time doing the PLG123. We started the show back in March, and ironically, the first episode was supposed to be recorded the week of March 15th, which was also the week that lockdown began in Boston. And so we've been a virtual native show from the very beginning. We've adapted and iterated from week to week, and the show is a lot different today than it was in the very beginning, and that is why it's been a lot of fun for me. This week on the PLG123 is going to be a little bit different. We're looking back at this year and the 33 episodes that we've had to highlight the top 3 tabs from the year. So those tabs are: Calendly hits $50 million of ARR, Wix launches a help desk product to compete with Zendesk, and Toast hits an $8 billion valuation as the SaaS plus fintech trend matures. That and more on this week's wrap-up edition of the PLG123. Let's dive in. Tab 1. Tab 1 is from the Growth TLDR and is about Calendly hitting $50 million of ARR. This tab is from episode 19, so let's take a look. Now, in honor of this $50 million ARR milestone, which is extremely impressive, I wanted to show a little bit of what I see as being the special sauce behind Calendly. Now, Tope Awatana, the founder of the company, is an amazing visionary entrepreneur, a true product savant, and has really built a world-class organization and tech brand with Calendly. And one of the things that's under the hood that's so impressive is Calendly's viral loop. So this is my own portrayal of that viral loop. And it's extremely simple. It starts at the top with existing Calendly users sharing the link to schedule meetings. We've all received the link before, many times I'm sure. Now, when you receive that link, you discover Calendly. So you don't see an ad, you don't get a cold email, you don't do a sales call, you just get the link and you click through and you use the product. And so you discover Calendly by using Calendly, at least through the recipient experience. And invariably, because again, millions upon millions of meetings are being scheduled every single month through Calendly, a percentage of those recipients then sign up for Calendly themselves and start sending the link to their own contacts, and the viral loop continues and it compounds. So Tope and his team have done a million things right, maybe 50 million things right and beyond, but this is really at the crux of what they've figured out that has really unlocked the power of Calendly. So some quick reflections on tab 1. Calendly continues to be on an absolute tear. Just recently, Tope was on another podcast, the How I Built This podcast from NPR, where he talked about crossing $60 million of ARR. So the company is not slowing down. Moving on to tab 2 for our highlight show. Tab 2 is from TechCrunch and is about Wix launching Wix Answers, a help desk product to compete with Zendesk. This tab is from episode 21. Let's take a look. And just last week, Wix announced that it launched a new product and a new independent company to go along with it, and that's called Wix Answers. Wix Answers is a help desk solution, and Wix specifically points to some of the unique challenges that they faced as a business given their breadth and scale. They point out here in the TechCrunch article that they have over 180 million customers. That really underscores the fact that in PLG, businesses no longer serve an individual small segment, but can really be these mass market products. And if you think about the way that help desks were originally designed, they were this ticket-based support system in many ways for a much more finite number of customers. The average enterprise business has hundreds of customers, maybe thousands of customers, maybe in the most extreme example, tens of thousands of customers. But Wix has not only millions, not only tens of millions, but hundreds of millions of individuals that they have to support and interact with. And they found that the existing tools in the market like Zendesk and Salesforce Service Cloud and many others just weren't cutting it. So pulling up the Wix Answers website itself, just wixanswers.com, you get a little bit more of a sense of the product. The big claim that Wix Answers is making here is that, as you see, support starts and ends with knowledge. And I think in the TechCrunch article, they describe it as the first knowledge-driven or knowledge-first help desk solution. And as I read through the article and read through this website, it started to occur to me this really means self-service. With that breadth of customers, you need to provide a way for people to very quickly find what they're looking for in a knowledge base that's much deeper and much richer than your average FAQ site. And you need a means to build that knowledge base over time as more questions pop up and more answers are given and discovered, and your team starts to realize what answer is best suited for which question. So Wix Answers is both that query-based knowledge base, as well as an intelligent in-product aid that will pop up tooltips that you need to know as you're navigating through new sections of the product. And obviously on the back end for the agent experience, it is a full help desk solution as well. They've sought to do away with individual tickets and more focused on all customer communications in one stream so you can see the entire context and history of an interaction with an individual customer. Quick reflections on tab 2. There's a lot going on in the customer support market. On the PLG123 alone, we've covered stories like customer selling to Facebook for $1 billion, Zendesk crossing $1 billion of ARR, and Gorgeous raising a $25 million round just last week. So keep your eye on this market. Moving on to tab 3. Tab 3 is from CNBC and is about Toast's new $8 billion valuation. This tab is from episode 31. Let's take a look. So here's what happened. CNBC reports that Toast recently closed a secondary round. The secondary round was for employees, I think former and current, to be able to sell a portion of their vested holdings. In total, this wound up being $60 million. And as the article points to, it ended up being at $75 a share or an $8 billion valuation. It's important to note Toast has not confirmed the details and they have not disclosed who the investor was. So I'm sure more information will come out soon. So here's why this matters. As the article points to, the company raised a large primary round of capital earlier this year that was announced in February. And that round was $400 million raised at a $4.9 billion valuation. Now, if you will remember, the world got a little bit crazy after February when this round was announced. And it got extremely crazy for Toast. And that's because a large portion of their customer base are restaurants. And restaurants clearly took a dive during the early days of the pandemic, and Toast responded by laying off 50% of its staff. And Toast also pivoted to help restaurants and other merchants adapt to the new normal with things like delivery, takeout, and other e-commerce-like experiences to replace or supplement in-person dining experiences. And while there's still lots of information to come out to confirm the details of this story, if you believe the valuation going from 4.9 to 8 billion in less than 12 months during a pandemic, I would say that the pivots and the decisions that they've made have paid off. So here's what to keep your eye on going forward. Toast has a really cool approach to product-led growth. When you go to their website, initially it actually doesn't pass my first litmus test for if a company's PLG or not. If you'll remember from last week when we talked about Pipedrive, I mentioned that if you see the call to action being get a demo or talk to sales, that's usually an indication that it's a sales-led company. But when you click on one of Toast's products like Toast Now, for example, and you go to the page, it looks more like an e-commerce checkout experience than it does a traditional SaaS landing page, with this Buy Now button that takes you to a very frictionless checkout experience. And I'm going to be watching closely to see if more software companies follow Toast's lead to make their checkout experience much more e-commerce-like and much more consumer-like as product-led growth continues to evolve. Quick reflections on tab 3. Toast is a prime example of SaaS plus fintech and the power of that combination. This is a key business model innovation that has been taking over the SaaS world, but I think that it's only just begun. Well, that does it for this week and this year on the PLG123. Thanks for tuning in each week and letting me have so much fun with this thing. We'll be taking the rest of the year off, but we'll be back in action in January. Hope you all have a great holiday and take care.